All right. So thank you everybody for coming today. I'd like to introduce my guests to you. So this is my mother, Patty, and my father, Bob. I have my future sister, my brother's fiance, Lindsay, and then I get Stacy McDonald in the back, who's my favorite. And then I get my second mom in Lisa McCaffrey. And then I was gonna call out Dan Irwin like he did about not wanting to be here because he called me out, but he didn't even show up. So nice. So I was born in Littleton, Colorado, and we lived in a house there. We moved shortly after, but when I was young, my mom would work while my dad would stay home with me and my brother. So most of the time, it was just me, my brother, and my dad, and all we'd do was watch or play baseball in like some way or another. We'd go to Rockies games like every couple days, and it was just a blast. So ever since I was a kid, baseball played a very big part in my life, and Ben Kozan mean mugging me is kind of freaking me out. So baseball was a huge part of my life. One of my earliest memories was my brother got one of the mini wooden bats from a Rockies game, and I ran into my living room, and I guess I didn't see him, and he swung it and hit me right here, and I got gashed open pretty good. I have a bunch of stitches there, or I used to, so now I have a mustache now to hide it, kind of, but there's a big scar right there when there's no mustache. And then, so we moved houses to like more of the Highlands Ranch area, and it's still only been baseball pretty much from there. It was like how I made most of my friends. It was how I spent most of my time, and it was a blast, I'd say. One thing that I was super blessed to have the whole time was up until high school, my dad was my only baseball coach pretty much. He was the only person who ever coached me. So I go to Franklin Elementary, and I make my friends there. I get into a little bit of trouble. I remember the most I ever got in trouble was I think my brother showed me the burning bugs with a magnifying glass trick, and I took that trick and I brought it to school, and I tried to burn my initials into this kid, and got in a fair amount of trouble for that one. So Franklin was fun, and then I don't go to the school. I don't go to the middle school that Franklin is district with. I end up going to Powell Middle School because of the move, and that was like kind of hard at first because I didn't really know anybody there except for kids that were on my baseball team, and it didn't make it any easier because I was kind of like a nerd in middle school. I was in the marching band, and I was on the Brain Bowl trivia team, and I was just a goofy kid all around. So I didn't really like middle school all that much. But when I was in sixth grade, my brother was at Arapahoe High School, and he was struggling, and he didn't really like it there, and he didn't like the baseball program. So he looked to make a move, and he chose to go to Valor instead of staying at Arapahoe for his final 2 years. And that was really when I knew that I was going to go to Valor too, because I had just followed like everything my brother had done to that point in time. Like I did it. I looked up to him really, really hard, really a lot. And so when he chose to move and thought that Valor was better, I knew I would too. But that was hard because I only knew 4 kids probably coming to Valor. I knew Paige and Grace, who went to Powell Middle School with me. And I knew Eric Omen from the game day days, as well as Chum Chum from the same team, wherever he is. So those were the days. But so coming in with no friends, it was kind of hard. But the craziest thing happened to me one of the first days of school. It wasn't even the first day of school. It was like a week before school, like the orientation day, where they break you up into small groups and they like show you around and stuff. And then you have a big barbecue after. And my group all knew each other except for me. So I kind of like hung around the back, and it sucked, and I hated it. And I thought I made like a horrible choice. That was like my first thing. But towards the end of the day, we start going to the barbecue section, and Christian McCaffrey and Justin Falls, who were I knew Justin Falls because my brother played baseball with him, and Christian McCaffrey and Justin Falls just hung out with me like that whole day pretty much. And I spent a lot of my time there, so it was pretty cool having like the 2-star football players from the school be your first friends. They're seniors and you're freshmen, so that opened up a lot of doors for me. And of course, through Christian, I ended up kind of meeting Dylan. I met Dylan in a Spanish class, but that's a funny story. I'll talk about that later. But freshman year was hard because at Powell I could kind of coast and get pretty good grades, and then I get to Valor and made some pretty poor grades. And it was also hard because I made the D team for baseball, which sucks. You basically just practice. You don't get to play in games, but I stuck with it, and I made a couple of really close friends through that, and I'm really glad I stayed with it. And then sophomore year became one of the best years of my life. My friend group got really refined. I made friends with everybody, but I hung out with a certain group of guys like almost every day, and it was Dylan, Ben, and Russell, and we called ourselves the Stees, and we just had a blast the whole time. So I was really thankful for sophomore year. My grades got better too, and I made a baseball team, which was fun. And then that's also when the barrel came into play. Someone had made a barrel that they were going to wear when they were seniors. It was Mitch Whitey, and he never ended up wearing it. And he asked me if I wanted to, out of some stroke of luck. And I wore it one time thinking I would only wear it one time, but it was too popular. It had to get brought back, I guess. So junior year was a lot of the same. It was just me hanging out with some of my closest friends, and I loved every minute of it. Junior year, I got put in a math class with Dalton and Mitch, and that wasn't the best idea, probably. We were kind of a distraction to the whole rest of the class, but I had some of my best memories in Mr. Hamilton's math class with Dalton and Mitch. And then, but I also kind of experienced my first, something that, shook my faith a little bit, because part of the way through my junior year, someone that I was really, really close with my whole life passed away to a battle with cancer, and it was really hard for me. But God also put a lot of people in my life to help me get through that. And Cameron Dyke, I never really thanked you enough for this, but you really helped me with that. And I could never really repay you for everything you did. But so after that, I closed myself off a little bit, and I stopped making friends as easily. And I was kind of getting into a dark place, and my grades went to drop again. But luckily, around that same time, baseball season rolled around, and this was probably the greatest season of my life. I had so much fun, especially I'd like to shout out Ghost Bites, which is a funny story of I think we called ourselves that because it was me, Austin, JoJo, and Michael Quintana. And I didn't really know any of them that well. And I told them a story of how I had a dream that I got bitten by a ghost the night before or something. And they thought it was hilarious. And ever since then, we were like that the whole season. We were just best friends. And they really made that season the greatest baseball season of my life. I also met Garrett, who is my catch partner for life. I would have worn the necklace, but I forgot it again. Sorry, please don't be mad. And but yeah, so junior year ended up finishing out awesome because of the baseball team. And I get to senior year, and my friend group pretty much stayed the same, and we just really bonded a lot. A lot of people graduated and left. Ben left to go to the Air Force, and that was kind of hard, but a lot of people stepped up and kind of filled his spot as my best friends. And then I grew a lot closer with my family too. We went on a trip this last February, I believe, called the Rock Boat, which was a cruise where there were a bunch of bands on it. And that was one of the absolute best times of my life. And I'm so thankful. And I can't wait for next year either. But I think I grew with my parents a lot in that, and we got really close. And then we're smack dab in the middle of baseball season right now too, which has been a blast. This group of guys has really given me the time of my life. The Anaheim trip was a blast, and I just can't wait to see what we can do this season, but also just hope that we stick through as a brotherhood forever, and I can always come back and talk to you guys. So my plans for the future our next year, I will be attending Santa Fe College, which is in Gainesville, Florida. And hopefully either at the semester point or after my freshman year, transfer into the University of Florida. That's it. I don't really know what I want to do from there, but now I have thank yous. My first thank yous go out to Garrett, Hayden, and Mitch, who are some of my closest friends. I have stories about all of them individually. Well, not individually. My first one is Hayden and Garrett and I. So Garrett and I were really good buddies last year, and I kind of hung out with Hayden a little bit. And one day during spring break, we decided we should take a fishing trip to this lake that Garrett was telling us about how good it was, but it was like 2 hours away. And so we wake up super early and we go to this lake, and we get there and it was frozen over. So we end up finding like a stocked little pond and we catch some fish there. And then on the way back, this was completely my fault. I was navigating. We drove straight forever, and then we took one left and drove straight until we got to this place. And it was my job to figure out what the left was. And I told him the wrong thing. So we turned down the wrong road and we drove like another hour into Nederland, Colorado. It was a beautiful place. And we just kind of sat on the side of the road there and just waited for directions. And then my other story about Garrett is roughly 2 weeks ago. We were playing something called Grit Games, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. It builds our toughness as a team. And me and Garrett are wrestling to build toughness. And Garrett's trying to run and grab a ball, and I grab onto him. And we go to the ground, and I let go. And Garrett gets up and runs and is celebrating his win. He has the ball. And I felt like I jammed my finger a little bit. And then I look down, and it's just sideways like this. Garrett's just busy celebrating his victory, and I was furious. I'd also like to thank, a lot of those guys are in it, but I'd like to thank Mr. Gutschik's advisory. It's been a blast for 4 years. A lot of people don't really like going to advisory, and they'll skip it or stuff, but Mr. Gutschik's advisory has always been the bright part of every other Friday for me. So the Stees, gotta thank the Stees. Dylan and I became best friends in kind of like an improbable way. I got called up to act for a Spanish project or something. Like just go up and I answered questions, and the teacher was like, "We need the name of a famous actress or something." And Dylan and I at the same time yell out Jessica Alba, because I really like Jessica Alba. And then I was up there acting the whole time, and Dylan, I guess, was just drawing a picture of me and Jessica Alba, and he gave it to me. I'm sure I have it somewhere in my freshman notebook. And I think since then we really bonded. But through Dylan, I met Ben, who became like a brother to me. Some of my favorite memories of high school so far, or even my life so far, were made on our New York City trip. I hope you're watching this somewhere, Ben. And I'm so excited to see what the future holds for the both of you guys. Are both going to be so awesome. I'd like to do a quick group shout out to the class of 2014, the seniors when I was a freshman, because I did kind of come in with no friends, but you guys welcomed me with open arms like I were a senior. I'd like to thank my coaches, Keith Wall. At first, I thought you were really mean to me because I was kind of a punk, and you'd yell at me every time I did something that was a punk move. And I see now that was for the better for sure. And I'd like to thank you for everything you've done in my life. And Brian Bond, my PP, that's prayer partner. I'd like to thank you for just helping me with my faith a lot. You're such a great man of God, and I love going over to your house and having barbecues every couple weeks. I'd like to thank all the teachers that have helped me throughout the years. Rick Whitfield couldn't make it. I was kind of bummed about that, but I won't hold it over him. But he was a big part in my faith so far in my life.
Here he is.
Mr. Shout Out.
Wow. Do it again.
Nope, too late. I'd like to thank everybody who was on the DC trip with me. That was a a really fun trip. I'd like to especially thank Katie. She's been really awesome these last couple months, and I'd like to apologize to Mr. and Mrs. Kennedy for keeping her up late night on Skype calls. Now to my family. I'd like to talk about my brother. He's chasing a ring right now in the D2 National Christian NCCA. It's some Christian conference, and he's trying to win the national championship for it. It's pretty funny. I love it. But Matt and I were really close when we were young, and then we hated each other for like 5 years in the middle. Like I just despised him. And when Matt went away to college, he came back, and we were just best friends. And I think that Lindsay probably has a little something to do with that. That's about when you came into his life, and I can't wait for your guys' wedding. And Matt, I hope you watch this. I can't wait to be your best man this summer. To Bob, everybody asks me why I call you Bob, and they think it's because I don't like you. But I think it's because I think of you like one of my best friends more than my dad. You're probably the coolest person I know, and going to concerts with you is a lifelong memory that I will cherish forever. Oh, God. Mom, don't be offended that I don't call you Patty. I think it's because I couldn't live without you as my mom. It was hard at first when you took the job and you were gone during the weekdays, but you worked so hard for me, and I could never repay you for all that you've done for me. We're done.
We have time for questions and any words of encouragement for Harry.
Do your graduation.
No.
Oh, bud, we're very proud of you.
Thank you.
We can't believe this day is coming where you're going to be going away and not going to be living with us for a while.
I'm bro.
We
Oh.
know you're ready for it.
Sorry, I have one more thing. If you have a Twitter in this class, you have to get on right now and retweet Justin Estes' tweet. Oh, and Harry Industries, follow him. All right, now I'm done. That can count as the questions nobody asked me.
What's your most embarrassing moment?
That's hard. I don't know. That's terrible. That was hilarious. That was somebody's most embarrassing moment. That killed me. Wait, I got to answer Dylan's question first. So there was one game in baseball where I started out on the bench, and the other team was getting kind of chippy, and I kind of got chippy back. I think this was like my sophomore year, so it wasn't under your tutelage. And I started getting like a little bit chippy back, just like trash talking. And then I get put into the game, and my very first play was just a ground ball right through my legs, and everybody laughed at me pretty hard on your team. All right, Jump, do you still have a question?
Favorite high school memory?
Oh, that's super hard. I'd probably say football games, like just in general. Like that's kind of a not one, but that like, yeah, those were fun. Cam.
Favorite baseball memory?
It was probably Ghost Bites last year on JV. JV was a blast last year. I also hit the only home run. I like to brag about that. And I like to brag about it a lot until JV this year hit like 15 home runs. And had me look like a joke. All right, Eric Oman.
Favorite memory in the library we've been?
Every day I get to see Nick's smiling face in the library is my favorite memory. I love you, Nick.
Harry, you're somebody that I think, give me 100 Harrys and I can create a school that actually has a community. Not that no, it doesn't. It's just sometimes I think we lack it for certain reasons. How would you encourage other people who are coming in to create community at Valor specifically?
I don't know. I'd say like really buy in. It's like I think it's a lot of people don't think it's cool to like be a part of something that's bigger than themselves, and like they get pretty selfish, and I think that gets boring. So like if you buy in and you just have fun and you get like a good group of people around you, you can have a blast and stay out of trouble while doing it. Lisa.
I have more of a story than a question. Harry, I knew I loved you the minute you walked into my house freshman year. You know the story of you guys were all going to a dance, and the boys met at my house, and you looked incredibly dapper in your suit, and you had a backpack on. And I was like, Harry, take your backpack off. Like, and you wouldn't take it off the whole time. I remember we drove to pictures, and we had pictures, and you met your date there, and you still had your backpack on throughout all the pictures. I still have your backpack on. I'm like, take your backpack off. Wouldn't do it. Anyway, I guess you went to the dance and evidently got dumped by your date, but you still had your backpack. And I'm thinking, probably because you had a stupid backpack on. All the boys ended up back at my house for a sleepover. And, they come home and Harry still, I think you had changed clothes, but you had your backpack on. Like, what is going on? Well, it's late night. We're all sitting there mid-conversation, just, reviewing the night and what happened. And then all of a sudden, Harry does take it off, puts his backpack down, opens it up. I'm not lying, breaks out a hot diggity dogger, a pack of buns and hot dogs, and has hot dogs for everyone. So thank you for being part of my life. I love you as a friend. I love when you come over. You are such a joy. Every time I see you, I just smile. You're the best.
Thank you very much.
What do you hope people say about you after you graduate? How do you hope to be remembered?
Maybe like the best looking person. Best hair.
Yeah, it's true.
Best hair. All right, that's it.
Oh, okay.
That was the real answer, is the best hair.
All right, we're gonna get up and pray for Harry.